Next up, we have Tina Kulow, who is the Director of Corporate Communications for Facebook, with more than 20 years of experience in public relations for international companies in tech, internet, and mobile. She's going to tell us what's happening at Facebook and perhaps give us some more clues on how we can navigate this information landscape. Give a huge round of applause.
It's working. Thank you. So, confession first. Through the zillions of emails that I'm sure you also get, I was the only one in our lovely crowd who did not read the instructions properly. So it was only about half an hour ago that I realized that I should talk for 17 minutes. So my apologies that it would be shorter. Therefore, after Michael, we will have a panel discussion, and I would like to encourage then, you guys, because then we have more time to talk. Let me start by saying that I have a very, very close connection to Norway. The reason is that I usually, because I work in the corporate communications team at Facebook, and I'm responsible with my team for a larger part of Europe, and Norway belongs to that. I think my very first encounter was when Aftenposten said, quite rightly, that Facebook should have not taken down a certain picture. You might remember the Terror of War picture that we took down for nudity. And so my first encounter in Norway was a big news conference where this was the hot topic. And quite rightly, as I said, it was a mistake, and I think we were really open about this and how we dealt with it, and it took too long. So this was my first encounter with Norway. When I told now my team that I'm coming to this conference and that I will be at a panel and join the ship to go to the Arctic, I think it was the first time that the hand raised up and said, "Oh, do you need support? Do you need an assistant?" And then the second thing they said was they were actually really proud that I'm here. And I mean this in all honesty. I think it is completely good, and I'm grateful that you invited me, also representing a company, which I'm sure you have lots of touch points on. And I'm really grateful that I have the chance to be here. So when we talk about information, it came to my mind, probably most of you are also reading or have read, probably much faster than me and probably not in a book, Yuval Harari, The Brief History of Mankind. Does it ring a bell somewhere? Ben, rescue me. Yeah? Okay, thanks you. And then one of the stories he tells, while he tells the story about mankind, is that language is super important. And why we developed so much faster than any ape was actually that animals have languages, but we use language much better. And the key was information. So you would say, oh, of course, right? Back then, the information was super important. Like, is there a mammoth? Is there a tiger? Or whatever kind of big animal that is dangerous or whatever. That goes from mouth to mouth, and they could warn each other. Makes sense, right? The one point that the author points out is that the other thing that we humans are much better than any other living kind is that we love gossip. So one of the biggest information we share is gossip about the tribe with a really messy, thing, and the fireplace is really bad, the food is not enough. And of course, already then, and it's not an excuse, but already then we had probably misinformation, probably then as well. So information is core. And yes, at Facebook, we see lots of information coming in from people, and usually the vast majority of information that people share is things they love. Despite what Katarina said earlier about the study, and I'll come to that, despite all of that, the vast majority of people say, hey, I'm at this cool conference. Hey, I'm attending a course. Hey, I'm on holidays. If you have to work during summer, this is really frustrating, no matter if you look at Facebook or Instagram or any other social network. So they exchange information. And then, of course, they exchange information about the things that happen, the political debate, etc. So we see this every day. And yes, and I think Mark was the first also to say this, and he repeats it, and we all know, we have done big mistakes, right? So I'm working with Facebook now over 7.5 years, and I can promise you that hardly during that time there was not a dinner where I have been asked the question, so yes, it could have been about privacy, yes, it could have been about, lately, Cambridge Analytica at the hairdressers. And it's all right, it is perfectly fine. This is also one of the reasons I'm here, and I'm looking forward to engage with any other question that we have no time with you. So information is all around us. And yes, platforms like us, we do have a responsibility of making sure that we do not foster bad doers that we see now. I mean, you have maybe seen the news, we take down things where we think it's like, where we believe that the resources are basically fake accounts, foreign interference, some things you look at and you cannot believe how on earth should somebody believe this. Like Katharina mentioned it, we have headlines and stories and things that you say, oh, can this really be true? And people love it and share it. But then again, I mean, I'm old enough that my mom and all of my family, we were reading newspapers and magazines at home, and you probably know that there's a whole industry of magazines that report things about royalty and other things that I think even the buyers know it's not true, and people love it and they share it. So, and I think also in the session before, there is this balance of what you said earlier is that we try to really give people on Facebook also additional information, related articles, have you seen that? But we have to see if people really would love to have that. This is why it's so important what Katharina said before, that we are responsible people on Facebook, in live, on the street, on Instagram, on wherever you are actually. And that reminds me also on this balance that we have strong debates internally, and that is freedom of expression. There were times where this was kind of the rule. I said, yeah, but we have to foster, you have to leave debate up. And then with the refugee crisis in Germany, and then with, let's say, all of the movements around the world towards more of this side of the spectrum politically, and new leaders come to the world, we see that this cannot be true, so we have to strive a balance. This is why we ramped up our rules on how you should behave on Facebook, right? And then I can tell you, for all of us, it's kind of a shock, right? We took down, it's a recent example that was also on a blog from us last week. We took down a German post where somebody said and described Muslims and refugees as parasites and vermin. We took it down because it's against our standards, what we think people should say about others on our platform. And I hope that most of you agree with me that this is a right decision, but then again, a German court ordered us to put it up again because it's freedom of speech. So this is kind of the thing that we have every day. And if you work and if you speak to any of our team is working from Britain to Africa, to the Middle East, to Russia, to Hungary, to Poland. We're watching really closely the Swedish election coming up. So these are the things that we're dealing with every day. So information is crucial. And the other thing that if you hear about those stories, I think that what do people do on Facebook, on any other platform, on the internet, I can just echo, and this is, I think, what unites all of us speakers, is that you do have to do something. For me, this was kind of an enlightening moment within our community of people at Facebook, was Brexit and the election in 2016. Big discussion internally about information and how this went and, in the time after. And in that information where we had the debate about what happened and did not happen, I realized that there are actually colleagues I had more than one beer with actually voted for Brexit. And they actually voted for Trump. So for anybody who spends two sentences with me might realize that I'm more on the liberal side of things. And I was like, gee, what do I do? And of course, I cannot stop talking to them, but I can try to engage. And so if there's maybe one thing you take away or two things you take away from me with this kind of, apologies again, stand-up speech is that the one thing is, please do ask me any questions you want, even here or after. I'm here all day. Or ping me afterwards. And the second is, if you think about and you read something and say, how can you post this? And how is he saying that? Please engage and think about diverse thinking. This is even more important than anything else. Only with diverse thinking, when we accept that people are different, that they come from different backgrounds, that they come from different countries, that they might have a different political stance, we need to learn again, and that's my personal opinion, it's not the one for my company, but that's my personal note at the end, is that only if we overcome this kind of notion that, that is dividing us, when we come back and say diverse thinking is okay, and you can embrace that and can live with that, and that you can leave it, you have a different position, yes, but I'm not need to convince you, but let's try to find a compromise or whatsoever. I think we need to learn this, otherwise I fear personally for Europe, it will get difficult for democracy. And with that, and as a call to action, I'm done. Thank you so much, and I lead over to Noura.